Hey YouTube, welcome back to Universe X, and today gonna have kind of a discussion subject going on. Just got to get the normal plugs out of the way. Thank you guys for kind of bearing with me. Upload schedule's been up and down, right before a new set, and so things kind of slow down a little bit. I'm gonna be very, very happy to be able to test more, getting hands on the cards, and kind of put some more on-cam games. Because it's cool to record on tap, and I will be getting to that eventually. It's just I kind of miss having the overlay and the actually head-to-head in person. But as per usual, if you haven't subscribed to the channel and you're watching this, maybe you should, because we put out some good stuff here. I'm serious. Even when my cats are running around in the background causing havoc. Anywho, yeah, Road to 1000 is going strong. Gonna hope to open up a box of the new set, Supreme Rivalry, and give away everything I pull. The cards are actually... Cats, can you not? The cards don't look to be color restricted per box, so this is going to be really, really fun actually pulling them on camera now. And yeah, if you haven't been by the Facebook group, think about hitting that up. So, we're going to jump right into the topic. Lots of people kind of talk about metas and what setups are more fun for them or less fun for them, and I kind of want to go into what I think are the different types of metas, and the positives and negatives. I'm going to start off right now with the Boogeyman, which would be tier 0 metas. You don't see these that often, because generally when a tier 0 meta is in effect, that means there's kind of a mess up on the developer's part. Something got through testing and common sense that shouldn't have. In this game, we've had very, very few tier 0 formats. Blue, Yellow, Hurdigarn, Storm being one of the most prevalent ones. You'll generally notice tier 0 by how many places per top event they take up. And it won't just be a fad, it won't be just one or two. You'll start to see a massive saturation in the top cuts. A tier 0 format generally means that the only deck that the tier 0 deck has to contend with is its mirror. Any other deck just gets punished and put to the side. I'm about to kick my cats out. So the thing about tier 0 metas, some people actually enjoy them. I personally enjoy them when they're not cancerous, and I know that some people think that only one deck being viable is cancerous, but I mean the interactions between the mirror. When the mirror is skillful and it's tier 0, it's kind of wild, because at that point, as long as you don't hate how I'm not gonna say unified, but how singular like the format is, the only deck you have to play test against for the most part is your own. Other matchups will generally crumble under the sheer speed and power of your deck, but the mirror match is where those interactions come into play. The more skilled player will generally win if the format is not cancerous, the tier 0 deck in question. If you play Yu-Gi-Oh!, I feel like Dragon Rulers, full power Dragon Rulers, that was a excellent skill-based mirror. Not as much so as what I feel like full power Pepe was, when Wavering Eyes, seen in multiple copies, could lock your opponent out of the game. But in this game, Storm was very, very interesting too, because any prevalent Storm player, like go ask Jordan, go ask a lot of people, they'll tell you that Storm could steamroll other decks, but Storm versus Storm was a very nuanced matchup. So yes, tier 0s are interesting. Most of the times they can be cancerous. I feel like sometimes they can make a very skillful format. Now, the only issue with a tier 0 format, my cats are trying to chase this stupid piece of fuzz. The only only bad part about a tier 0 format is that it only gets eradicated, it only ends in one of two ways. Either A, they hit the deck with the banhammer, the almighty banhammer. It has to be limited in ways that makes it not playable in the same capacity. Or the game gets power crept to the point where that tier 0 deck is no longer powerful enough to be considered tier 0 amongst its peers. As you can see, power creeping can only go so far before the game turns into a complete basket of poo. But banning will also annoy the players, because when you make a format where only one deck has a super superior chances of winning, everybody's gonna go out and buy that deck. If there are promos with it, SRs, people are going to buy secondhand, they're going to buy up the boxes, and then when you ban it, you're essentially just kind of smacking everybody in the face that went out and bought those cards. So tier zeros never end in a healthy way, whether the game is power crept or whether you end up banning the cards that made it so. The next kind of bracket I would like to talk about, my personal favorite, kind of duo or triangle or kind of quad formats, where you have 2, 3, maybe 4 very, very strong decks, and everything else is tier 1.5 or lower. That's kind of what we're on right now. To be honest, I kind of prefer when everything outside of that formation is like tier 2, because I am a firm believer in your side deck being too small. I like 15 cards, but when you have over like 4 or more decks, all rocking competitive spaces in the top cuts, then your side deck can only do so many, because your hard matchup might take 4 to 5 cards. Your easy matchups may only take 3. In this game, you're liable to see a fair amount of your cards. But when these formats exist, like a triangle format, you might have your good matchup that you have a couple cards to make better. If your bad matchup, which you allot maybe a third, a little bit more of your side deck to, and you have the tech choices, the easier matchups, but you still want to swing them in your favor. This is where I feel like your side deck is able to cover the most ground, because when you start getting into more matchups that are viable in the format, like over 5, 6, 7, your side deck only does so much, and you run a much greater chance of just running into a matchup that you didn't see coming, or a matchup that you just didn't have the space to side for, especially in a game where archetypes exist. When colors have their color identities, kind of random, but when colors have their color identities and you can kind of just build mono hybrids when you try to mix some of those color identities, that's one thing. But with archetypes can start doing a very, very, very specific set of things in very different directions. And this means that, the card that you used to side deck for 2 decks might not be sided in well for 3 decks. Definitely won't be sided in well for 2 decks outside of that. So when, the format's too open, or in my opinion, too open, I know for some people too open isn't a thing, your side deck becomes more and more ineffective. So I personally do like it when there's a triangle format. 3 decks, one has a good matchup against this one has a good matchup against this one has a good matchup against this one. I think that it allows you to focus very, very well on your core matchups, and yes, you should be playtesting all of your matchups, but your core matchups, and it allows you to actually have the main board tech space as well as the sideboard space to adequately deal with your matchups. And I think that's just more skillful to me, because you're going to be able to prepare and make sure that your situations are accounted for. Now you have your last one. This is kind of my most hated one, I'm not gonna lie. The wide open format, where you can look in a top 8 and over, like a top 16 and 8 decks plus got in. This to me is kind of weird, because in a game, I would like to think that all the cards are created equal, but they're simply not. Some archetypes are shafted, and when there's too much variance in the format of all similarly powered cards, unless they all kind of do things in the same direction, like there's 12 decks in the format, but 3 of them do stuff from graveyard, 3 of them are field swarmers, 3 of them are kind of swapper lineage chains. At least in that regard, you can side for general play styles. But in this game where you have archetypes, they're just things that aren't going to fly. Too many decks that need too many different answers, and then you'll end up running into games where you simply lose because you sat down at the wrong table. It's like, oh well, I have all these matchups practiced, I have my side deck keyed to the T, but I happen to sit against Lord Slug Janimba, and you're just like, so I draw and I get milled out. Not saying that's a deck, it's just like those type of things are the things that kind of get me. It's kind of wild, and granted, in any tournament you're going to be facing the random McDandy until you get to, you know, 4 wins or so, 3-4 wins and up. Then you'll start facing only meta or the anti-meta that has done very well at taking down the meta. But personally, I just don't like unfocused formats. I like being able to hedge my bets for what goes into my side deck to optimize my chances of going through a tournament. But I feel like lots of people do enjoy the openness of DBS. They do enjoy how many decks appear in Top Cut, and they do enjoy just the variety that you can find at a tournament. So yeah, this is gonna be a short video. I did just want to kind of talk about these things. I feel like the pros to a triangular format is that it rises and falls. A new deck will pop up and join the triangle, kicking another one out. It doesn't stay stale forever. And the pros of a widespread tournament is definitely not only satisfaction of being able to know that you could play different decks. You know, in a widespread format, generally that means lots of the decks, lots of the archetypes are around the similar power. There are gonna be some top dogs for sure. Like right now, you have Lord Slug, you have Mecha Frieza, I said Lord Slug. You have Demon King Piccolo, you have Mecha Frieza, you have Dark Broly, but even outside of that, Turles, Launch, like Zamasu, like there's Senshin around, there's so many decks around it. And so I don't really feel like this one's even necessarily a triangular format. I feel like right now we're kind of in an open format. But in this game, so many of the decks are kind of, they're archetype, but they're also kind of generic in that sense. Like some decks just swarm more than others. Some decks play a control game. Some decks like build upon things. And I feel like this is actually pretty cool because you can get your side deck for more or less encompassing most of them. But if the archetypes get very, very unique in the future, it may be harder to decide. I think the wide open formats appeal to a lot of players more because generally, if the format is that way, if you have the skill to push your deck, you're going to be able to go far. Or at least far enough to kind of stake your claim to some clout, you know what I'm saying? But I think the cons of it are that it ups the variance in a game where there already is variance. So yeah, that is pretty much just my talk. I just wanted to talk about those states, but I also wanted to get your opinions. I want to know in the comments, what type of format do you like most? Are you a tier 0 player? Are you a triangular format? Are you a wide open? I just want to know how you guys feel like the game is best played. So yeah, just let me know in the comments. And like I said before, if you haven't subbed to the channel already, think about doing it. This was a mighty chill video, but then again, I'm recording it at like 6:37 for me. So I'm gonna get this uploaded. You guys have a great day. And I guess by the time you're watching it, it already is uploaded. So oops, later.